Hi, guys. Thanks for joining. This is Essence of Medicine. Today we're talking about the psychology behind healing. I'm Amanda Armagast.
I'm Melissa Haber.
And I'm Dr. Abbasi for Essence.
And I chose this topic actually because of something that happened this week. So we do have, everyone knows we have our surgery center here. And we like to try and have our patients have surgery in the surgery center versus in the hospital. Do you want to kind of talk about why having surgery in a surgery center is better than having surgery in a hospital?
Well, the facts are clear. The risk of infection in a surgery center is 1/7 of in the hospital now, and the outcomes are much better. Certainly, there are some cynic people who say, well, the most sick people go to hospital and you choose the most healthy people for the surgery center. And that part might be part of the truth. But the other part is that exactly because lots of sick people go to hospital, and guess what? The easiest thing that we doctor, nurses, and so on, we just spread those germs. That's a factor. But as well, for anybody who has been in a hospital, especially in a big hospital where you park in some cold parking structure and then you walk 45 minutes to be there where you need to be, you know, especially when you're sick, how much stress, how much anxiety that induces on you rather than just park around the corner and just walk in and then be greeted with generally happier people in the surgery center with where everybody knows, and that's the idea. In a surgery center, everybody who works there knows everybody, and because they know each other, they're more in harmony
Right.
than in a big hospital. This is not a joke. I went to a big hospital. There's a hospital group here, and I usually work in one of them. But then I went a few years back to another one. I asked 6 employees, where is the OR? Where is the OR in this hospital? Nobody knew. Nobody knew. And I'm a doctor, I'm healthy. I'm there to actually perform. I'm not sick. I'm not a patient.
But imagine if you were under all that stress. Like, you're already anxious to go to the hospital. Every step you take, you're like, am I going the right way? Like, I don't want to, do the wrong thing.
Yeah.
It's stressful.
I can attest to that. As in PA school, we do a lot of rotations, meaning every 4 weeks we go to a new hospital, a new clinic, a new situation, and without a doubt, those hospitals, the very first day when you have no idea with a high intensity anxiety, and that's without, like you said, being sick, having the brain fog, having the, everything else that comes with it. Oh, absolutely.
No.
Well, and also, not to mention, I think I might just be speaking for our surgery center, but their days are a lot shorter than a normal hospital staff day, right?
Because you're efficient.
Yeah, and in the hospital, that staff, they're there for usually 12 hours. My friend Shelby works 3 12-hour days a week. When you're working for 12 hours, your temper is going to be much shorter fuse. You're a little bit more stressed.
But your performance.
And your performance goes down too.
This is not, this is a real thing, you know? Now, obviously what we do is very efficient to start with, but generally, because everybody knows everybody in the surgery center and we truly can perform as a team much better, the efficiency is significantly higher. Now, obviously, there are lots of things that cannot be done in a surgery center, like you cannot do a heart surgery in a surgery center. You need more resources for that. But this is a fact. If you can get your surgery, if you get anything from this episode, if you can get anything in a surgery center, do not go to a hospital. I wouldn't.
And this is a little bit off topic, but just to go off of what you said in the beginning about the parking situation, I cannot believe that with how much money you're spending to get your procedures done, or like even just a normal appointment, at least have a valet. Like, I just can't believe that. We were at a hospital recently, and I swear I walked a mile to get to the spine area, and I was walking through the cardiac area. Then I had to walk through the spine rehab facility, and I'm thinking, by the time you get to your spine surgery, like, you pretty much did all of your physical therapy necessary.
I hate to say it. How many smiling faces were there asking you, "You look lost. Can I help you?"
None.
Yeah.
Even the people that I did ask was like, oh, I don't know. And then the elevator got stuck. And yeah, why is there not a valet for these poor patients at the hospital? I think the hospital can afford that. But anyway.
But we are talking about actually the
Yeah, the
psychology of
healing.
healing.
And there is psychology behind healing at home or having your surgery done in a surgery center. So you can heal at home versus in a hospital.
Now, let's go a few hundred years back, okay?
Why not?
Always
Why
do.
not? Why not? We had this talk about Ignaz Semmelweis.
Yes, I'm so happy you brought that up.
You're thinking about
I I saw somebody was listening to a podcast about him and posted it on TikTok. Remember Semmelweis?
Yeah.
Check it out.
Remember, yeah, do that. But women would be afraid of going to hospitals to give birth because then if you go to hospital, you will die.
Mm-hmm.
So giving birth at home was safer than going to the hospital. Now, we are obviously much, much better now. That time it was because some big names, they didn't wash their hands and they spread the germs and people got infected from cadaver to the patient and literally 40% of the women died. Now, we are much better, but nevertheless, this is the fact. The sickest of the sickest go to the hospital, and this is a high stress situation for everybody, including people who work there. And that stress spreads. Now, I'm sure you guys have been with friends. If they're in a good mood, that's sort of contagious. But as well, if they're in a bad mood, that is contagious.
Yeah, it is.
In a work or healing environment is no different. So what that means is that if you're in a hospital and everybody is in a stressful situation, that actually propagates and to the patient, and that impact their healing process.
Yeah, that makes sense. And also I can imagine, like, if you're healing at home, you have your family taking care of you. So if any minor issue you have, they're like, oh, my love, like, let me get you a Band-Aid for this. But if you're in the hospital and you have a small bleed and it's concerning to you, but to the hospital, like, someone else is having a much bigger situation. So I can imagine that the nurse would kind of not be as sensitive to your situation as your family.
Now, as a neurosurgeon, I have been on the other side of that equation where I have a child with head bleed. I have another child with the hydrocephalus, meaning brain is swelling up and patient is about to die. And then I have another patient who had an accident and the spine is unstable and they're going paralyzed. And then exactly the family want to ask about the small little bleeding in the finger. And you can imagine that in that list, that doesn't have really priority for me. So, but that's the idea. Don't go for a small little finger bleeding to a hospital.
Yeah.
Go to other places. The hospital is truly for sick people. Now, I have a story to tell, but it's actually funny. It is funny now, 50 or 45 years later. And when I was 11 years old, at the motorcycle drove over my foot, broke my ankle, and my uncles were there, and had a broken foot, and they talked to each other, and they decided this is not serious enough to go to a hospital. So they took me to the old guy who was just in a shop selling secondhand stuff, and he was famous to be a so-called bone setter. You know what that is?
I can imagine, like, if your shoulder is out of place, he pulls it back in.
Nobody knows how he got that knowledge. So 4 of my uncles were holding me down, 11-year-old, and he was strong, and he was pulling. If my foot wasn't broken until then, I think it broke then.
Didn't they like put some bread on it or something?
Actually, the mashed potato, though it didn't cook it, just grinded some potatoes and eggs and wrapped it around my foot.
Well, I mean, that's not really far off in herbal healing.
Yeah.
Like if you have a cold, you can actually put a slice of a potato in your sock while you're sleeping, And the potato is supposed to take like your sickness out of your body through your feet. You can use a potato or an onion, but it relates up. And then I've done this before and it worked for me.
I screamed for 4 days.
Yeah, this is very
that potato
different.
didn't help.
But the potato is supposed to suck out your illnesses if it's like a cold.
But it was actually good story after that, because obviously my bone didn't grow right, and I was limping, and one of my legs still shorter. But because of that, I didn't get drafted to the military. That saved my life, actually.
And actually, that you can think that saved a lot of people's lives, because then you went on to become a surgeon, and then you ended up saving lives.
Yeah. Well, it's always a cascade of effects and causes and effects and causes and so on. So that even though it was obviously dramatic that I have a broken bone, they didn't take me to the hospital and so on, but that ended up probably saving my life.
Good.
Now, psychology of healing, I think that's a very important thing. In our body, everything breaks down and our body repairs it. Breaks down and body repairs it, like your skin. It falls off, but it's always something else is growing there. You have a wound. The same, your cartilage in your both joint and so on. They get damaged constantly from usage, but then you rebuild it all the time. And there is a harmony, there's a balance there. Now, for a long time, all our understanding of healing process was this humoral kind of thing, that those 4 humors, like black bile, yellow bile, blood, and phlegm, that this old thing, Aristotelian thing, that they're in harmony. If the harmony is broken, you're sick. You have to restore the harmony. And part of that huge was, that gave you a lot of, the power to control your humors. And then in the Renaissance, we understood, no, our body is like a machine. It works like a machine. But then it went too far. Then everything was a machine. Like, you are a machine. We have to just change few pieces and put them back together, and then you will be fine.
What do you mean?
We start understanding a human like a mechanical, like I repair you like I repair the car. Car doesn't have a soul. Car doesn't get sad. The car doesn't miss the family.
Kind of like when you post on LinkedIn a photo of the images, a photo of the patient's spine, their images, and then the doctors say, like, what about this? What about that? So it's very mechanical. Yeah, it's very mechanical. It's not really taking into account the patient's, what can they even handle? How old are they? How many levels can you do at a time? And what's hurting them at this time?
What does the patient want? Okay, so I think this is since 1970s with hippies, we are coming back that we are not a machine. We have soul, we have feeling, and that matters one way or another. And now, since then as well, we have studies, not only they matter, they actually influence our healing process. It is not mumbo jumbo. It is not like, oh, you're feeling and so on, and I'm just going to take the tumor out. Well, your body has to fight the tumor. And this is actually a very interesting study they did in, I think, in 1970s or 80s, that they let a bunch of kids and fill a questionnaire in the school, in one of the universities, and they categorized them with the optimism, like optimist like yourself, and with pessimists like me. Okay? And then they let them watch a movie that is like a short movie or something that was open-ended. And then they asked them to make a questionnaire again that, how do you think the movie is going to end? Optimist says, oh yeah, okay, they're going to come together, it's going to be good. And then the pessimist said, no, one of them is going to die and everything going to go bad and so on. But that wasn't the surprising part. They measured the immune factors in their blood before and after.
What does that mean to measure the immune factors?
There are like certain proteins in your body that says how active or good your immune system is,
Okay.
like interferons and interleukins and so on, actual molecule that tells you how strong your immune system is right now. Everybody knows that if you have stress, you're more likely
Yeah.
to get cold and so on, because stress reduces your immune factors.
Because is the stress reducing your immune factors because it's kind of taking your body's attention? You're focusing more on how you're feeling than
Stress is a disease. Your immune is fighting a disease. It is like, you have 100 soldiers. If they have to be in one place and fight one thing, they cannot be in the other place and fight other things.
Right.
So they measured their immune factors before and after, and guess what? The optimist had more immune factors. The pessimist has less immune factors just by watching a movie. So this is as close it comes to mind over body as I can imagine.
Well, and they've done similar things like with that hot cup of coffee. Do you know what study I'm talking
No,
about?
tell me about it.
They I don't want to butcher it, but pretty much they gave someone a hot cup of coffee and asked like a yes or no question. And with the warm cup of coffee, the person was more likely to answer positively and say yes. And then they did the same thing. They gave people a cold cup of coffee.
Mm.
And with the cold cup, they were more likely to answer negatively and say no.
We know that our environment and literally in what status we are influence our behavior. That is given. If you are in good mood, it's more likely that I can ask you a question and something favorable comes
for
out of
sure.
it than when you're stressed or hungry, and
Yeah.
especially you when you're hungry.
But the point I'm making is that aesthetics actually play into
Mhm.
your healing too. Like if you're in a warm environment, then
Mhm.
you're going to be happier, unless obviously it's too warm. But compared to being in a cold environment, you're going to be a little bit stressed out and be less happy.
Yeah.
Dominic and I were talking about a study that we saw recently where a patient going to a rundown facility will recover less well than a patient going to a nice facility. And there was a patient recently that said that he went to a rundown facility and it seemed like everything they did was wrong.
Mhm.
Like they would have bad communication and this and that. And I think that part of it is that the facility looked run down. So in his head, he was already thinking like this place is not coordinated. And then they came here and they're like, this facility is beautiful. And they're really loving like their patient journey they've had here so far.
And that is absolutely correct, that your environment influences you, and how you are influenced, that changes your attitude, and your attitude actually does change the healing process.
Mhm.
That is fact. This is not a guess. This is not a mumbo jumbo. We have good evidence that your attitude toward the disease actually changed the course of the disease. Like if you say, I'm going to fight it, your body will do much better than if you
If you
mentally give up.
Mhm.
And the fact of that is as well again and again seen and proven. Like there are lots of these couples that have been with each other for decades, like 50, 60, 70 years. Usually when one of them dies, the other one dies in a very short period of time. They just
Broken heart syndrome.
yes, it
Actually,
is.
animals have that too.
Yeah, I can imagine that this is not known. That this is not just limited to human, and we can't just say okay, he didn't eat, or like I know few people that that when one partner dies, the other one just quit eating.
That was actually something I was really concerned about when my grandpa passed away,
Mhm.
because my grandparents have been together for over 60 years. They've pretty much only been with each other.
Mhm.
But afterwards, luckily, my grandma had my mom and me and the rest of the family to kind of pick up on that. But yeah, it's a really true and common thing.
Mhm. So, and this is not a trivial thing, that your environment, your willing influence your willingness to fight the disease or heal,
Mhm.
and your willingness has measurable impact on the healing process itself.
Something else I read about the environment too is that sunlight, like being around sunlight, can help you heal better and faster than being in a dark area, which does make sense because the vitamin D
Number one, vitamin D,
regeneration,
which is very, very crucial for your healing process in many, many levels. Number two, as well, we don't really talk about it often. Sunlight kills bacteria.
yeah, this is kind of gross and off topic, but there's these hiking wipes, I guess you could say, where one side is a special material and it has a hook on it, and you're supposed to hook it to your backpack when you're hiking, because then if you have to if you're on a long hike, you have to wipe. You wipe with one side and then you leave it in the sun while you hike, and the sun is supposed to actually like kill the bacteria.
Okay, well, I'm not going to promote that today, but as well, the effect of the sunlight on the mood is very well studied. That it raises your mood. Obviously, vitamin D is one of the effect of that. But I can't. Everybody knows that in a sunny day with lots of sunlight in a good weather, you're just generally in a better mood than in a gloomy, dark day and cold and so on. So, and that, and as well, we know that the rate of depression in the places where there is more sun is lower than in the places that there's less sun and is colder.
So, would a patient heal better from surgery in Florida than they would in Minnesota?
You
or
see,
is it like that small of a change where it won't be noticeable?
No, well, I would say there are so many factors that are so much different in Florida and here, and from place to place. That it's not. Let's say, it is not comparable. As a scientist, you have to eliminate all the variable except one, and then compare them.
Yeah.
That's not really possible to compare them Florida to Minnesota because, well, there's so many other factors that are as well different that the influence for you to be able to make an actual determination. If it's more sun in Florida and it's warmer, is it better? Well, if it's what about the actual care you receive? What about what status you are in? Are you there for vacation? There's too many factors to be able to say something like that.
Yeah. Most of the reasons for why healing is faster in a home than in a hospital that we've talked about pretty much can be backed by like science. Like if you're in a hospital, you're with more sick people, or if you're in the sun, you get more vitamin D. But there's another thing that's truly psychological, which is just a sense of normalcy. So if you're healing in a hospital, you're sick, you're in a hospital, you have a doctor taking care of you, checking on you every day. But if you're healing at home, it's more normal, and it seems like less of a big deal where you're not in a hospital. I'm just chilling at home on my normal bed.
That is why our surgery center and clinic look like a nice hotel, and rather than like a hospital.
Yeah, and our surgery center does have really nice big windows. You will not get that in a hospital.
Yeah, and all of that. And this is thing as well, the new hospitals are trying to simulate that. They now put like a nice carpet, bigger room, wider, wider halls on the way to go to different places, hallways. And they understand that brighter colors as a general.
Yeah, true. Colors, not
smells and so on. But I remember, in Iran where I grew up, if you would go to the hospital, you would have always this smell.
I know exactly that smell, because they still have that smell in hospitals.
Yeah. And, and as you have noticed, when we built our surgery center, and it's expensive to build a hospital or surgery center. It's very, very expensive. But we didn't save on making things smaller, shallower, lower ceiling and so on, smaller windows. These are all truly, they turn into money. And if your money is your first priority, you make it smaller. You make it lower ceiling. You make a smaller window. And since we have paid for that, I know how much they cost. But if truly healing is your goal, you spend that so you maximize overall psychological aspect of the healing. And I do believe our patients do appreciate that.
Oh, yeah, our patients actually do talk about it too.
Yeah.
Another thing about hospitals is the lights. Very bright fluorescent lights. I know we do have bright fluorescent lights here, but our patients aren't healing here. They're
Mhm.
healing
Yeah,
at
this is-
home.
yeah.
You have to have that in a.
And
In
we
the
have
hospital?
windows, though. We have
Yeah, we
large
do have
windows,
windows.
lots of natural light.
But I was reading that healing in these bright fluorescent lights can actually slow it down versus healing in lower lights, like dimmer lights.
Mhm.
What do you think about that?
Well, depending on what situation, obviously you cannot sleep with a bright
Mm-hmm.
light. And some other, depending on your mood, some lights are better than the others. But as well, like some lights are better to kill bacteria, like the blue and ultraviolet light is very efficient to kill bacteria and viruses and so on. So it is a bigger, the complicated matter to see what situation. But generally, when we want them to recover, we have more like a dimmer, red, red leaning light. When we want them, to communicate with us, we have brighter, more bluish light, and so on and so on. But that we did recommend to people who want to go sleep. Don't look at the blue colors, too much blue colors,
Mm-hmm.
TV and podcasts and so on. So depending what we want to achieve, we can certainly modify the light to raise the mood or sedate the make them put them in a situation that they can actually rest better and so on. But as well, smells, the natural smells rather than chemical smells
Yeah.
and so on. That these are all play a big role.
Well, every home has its own smell, and we're nose blind to our own house's smell. But I think psychologically, we still recognize the smell of our own house.
Yes, we do.
So that plays a big part. And the last thing that I had on my list of psychological reasons is just a customized environment. We can do that a lot here, but again, our patients aren't sleeping here unless they sleep upstairs in the concierge. But at home, you can customize your environment a little bit more than you can in a hospital. So you can have a fluffy rug at your bed. So then when you're getting
Mhm.
out, it's a little bit more cozy. It's not a hard floor. And
Yeah.
your bathroom, you can have exactly the soaps that you like in your bathroom, which is huge for us women. We really are specific about our soaps. Where in the hospital, you're using the antibacterial.
Yeah.
Actually, sorry, we had a patient, I think it was, someone was telling me, I think Monica was telling me that she brought some Bath and Body Works soap for one of the patients, and the patient was so thankful and happy and kept telling her so much how much she appreciated that.
Yeah. Maybe we cannot do surgery at home, but maybe we can bring a little piece of a home
Yeah.
to our healing places.
Mhm.
Definitely.
Is there anything that I missed that helps with psychologically helps with healing?
I think you covered it pretty well.
Okay. Thanks for watching, guys. This was Essence of Medicine. We talked about the psychology of healing. I'm Amanda Armagast.
And I'm Dr. Abbasi for Essence. Thank you for joining us.
Have a good weekend.